He's studying leadership. We've got some data on leadership, and we're talking about leadership tonight. You know, the term leadership is, you know, you get it, right? But it you say it often enough, it becomes this kind of term that you really can't get your hands around because everyone uses the term and nobody really, well, a lot of people show it in their lives, but when it comes to public policy, I think we're all craving it. Gary Sass runs the Leadership Institute at the great Bryant University. It's the Hassenfeld Institute, and he is my guest, a former revenue chief and administration guy for Don Kacheri and City Hall in Providence, and his resume is smart guy, and he's going to come here and break down the numbers for us. So while we're getting ready to do that, let's hustle to our rundown this evening and cover a couple of other things. I don't even know the answer to that question. We've got the latest on it. This is part of Gina Raimondo's new initiative, and she can't even get the numbers straight. It's like R2, T2, RI2, what square root of 3 over 2 square. I don't know. This is just dumb. Boy, I'm in rare form already on Monday. It's just dumb. We'll tell you why. So is that. It's like pulling teeth, getting some common sense in this political season. And this is something to celebrate. And this was just fun, and it continues to be so. Let's go to the rundown breakdown, and we'll talk about some of these things that you see on the rundown. This isn't funny, and I shouldn't be loose-lipped about this. And, you know, I'm praying for these folks. We have some Americans on this plane as well. The headline is, the term vanished is being used. In 2014, a plane vanishes? Here's the latest from Fox News.
Possible clues to the location of the missing jet proving to be false hope.
The oil analysis of the sample taken by the Maritime Enforcement Agency are not from an aircraft.
Rescue aircraft searching for the Malaysia Airlines plane, spotting what was believed to be a life raft floating in the ocean. Later searches determining the object was a moss-covered cable reel cap.
So far, we have not received any confirmation or verification of the debris.
Officials will be expanding the search area within the South China Sea. The goal to find the Boeing 777.
Without able to locate the aircraft or parts of the aircraft, we are unable to determine the cause or the causes of this incident.
As the search continues, authorities are also investigating the possible role of terrorism in the plane's disappearance. 2 one-way tickets purchased with stolen European passports were issued Thursday from a travel agency here in Thailand.
Here's what I don't get. If it's terrorism, how come nobody's saying, hey, we got you? There's usually a message that goes along with that. Now they're talking about the plane having been disintegrated? I mean, into such little bitty, what is this, Star Trek? You know, is it vaporized? You know, in 2014, I can't imagine that we go this long, this far over a weekend and not know what happened to that plane. Again, keep your prayers for the souls that are aboard that plane. Is there a chance it landed somewhere? I'm as puzzled as you are. I don't buy the answers right now. Something's fishy. All right, next item here. What is this? RI2. RI the second. RI whatever. Here's the headline today. Gina Raimondo. Do we have a headline? I don't think we had a headline. No, here's her. Thank you. Here is, that's my bad. Here is an excerpt of her PowerPoint presentation. She announced her new jobs program. I thought Ken Block said it best last week, that candidates and elected officials don't create jobs, they create the environment for jobs. But anyway, Rox, can you put that up back one more time? I'm going to do it a couple of times. I wish I need a whiteboard. The Rhode Island Innovation Institute, RI2. Well, there's three. There's RI the second. Innovating our. That's 3 I's. Listen to what she calls it. This is what confused me. Here's radio tape from our newsroom that shows, well, just roll it. It's just crazy. It's weird.
The new wave of manufacturing is based in innovation. As Governor will establish the Rhode Island Institute, or RI2, to do just that. Let me be clear. This isn't just another place to talk about manufacturing. It's not another think tank about how we can do manufacturing. It's a do tank.
Oh, please. It's a place to put a bunch of hacks. You know, she wants to build a new campus? Look, I mean, it's done. In fact, you know, there are people who, it's been done well in other states, sort of, but they're bureaucracies. Anyway, you notice she called it the Rhode Island Institute, not the Rhode Island Innovation Institute. So I'm all perplexed. I mean, my listeners on the radio show today, we're all dialing in trying to figure out what to call this thing. You know, we can't even figure out what to call this thing. RI2, RI cubed, RI waste of bureaucratic money, taxpayer dumping ground. She wants to build campuses. Oh, boy, I'll tell you, I thought she actually had a conservative edge. She was at the Smithfield location, and that's, you know, we've got video of that. This is where she announced the whole thing today. Nothing like putting on the white, you know, what is that, like the doctor's smock, the pharmacy smock, the clean room smock? They all like to look the part. Anyway, we'll talk to Gina about these ideas. I mean, if she can't get it straight from the beginning, how are we supposed to react to it? Newsmakers, Tim and Ted, once again. Guillaume de Ramel. He is running for Secretary of State for the second time, and he wants to undo the voter ID law that we have. And here's half of his explanation.
I just don't see the numbers of voter fraud through voter ID, or, you know, without the duplication. As a matter of fact,
so you want to see a problem before you protect it?
Absolutely, we need to document this. This is a paramount to our, to our election system. By the way, if you look at my 2006 election, look, I have a complicated name. It's not Tim White. And if you look at that race, my name's on the ballot, but my vote never appeared on the as having been cast, because I had to cast a provisional ballot because they couldn't find my name on the voter roll. Look, that can happen, and it does happen. And unless we really take a close look at that, it's going to continue to happen.
That might be the most non-connected commentary I've seen in a while. What is losing a ballot having to do with voter ID? Whether the ballot, whether you're in other words, losing somebody's registration form, you're either registered or you're not. It doesn't matter. Somehow you're going to have to say, I'm Guillaume de Ramel or Dan Yorke, and I got to prove it. Good question by Tim. This guy wants to. Man, I'll tell you, the politics of the state have just, forget moving left or right. They've moved away from common sense. We'll have him in here. He and I will go nose to nose on that. Nice gentleman, but heaven's sake, I skipped a topic. Rocks caught me. Here's the headline. Well, here's the theme, and here's the headline. Not much to say about this other than, would you guys just stop it, please? Reid opponent has to work things out and work. This is Ray McKay. We got a picture of Jack Reed, the U.S. Senator, the senior senator, and Ray McKay. Nice guy. He runs the conservative group, the Rhode Island Republican Assembly. They're the conservative group inside the phone booth of the Republican Party. He's threatening to run against Jack Reed. He's got a Twitter address now and everything else. Could you guys please stop this? Would you just win some assembly seats and rebuild the party structure from the ground up? It's not that difficult. You run against Jack Reed, you get waxed by 30 points, Ray, and all it does is rebroadcast to the world around Rhode Island and southern New England that Republicans can't win anything. Who's going to beat Jack Reed? Forget the politics and the policies and who's going to beat Jack Reed? Nobody. All right. Good news. Yay! Headlines here. Yay! To 2021. And, you know, I just want to say Paw Sox because it makes me feel like baseball. We got a little B-roll, don't we, in the Paw Sox? I think we do. We got, with the stadium itself. Perfect. I just want to stare at the grass. That is the best family value investment for entertainment that you can make in Rhode Island. Seriously. What they've done at that place, from Mr. Mondor all the way down to Mr. Tamburo, and is just phenomenal. You got to bottle it. And to hear that it's here to 2021 at least is a celebration. And lastly, I'm a little hoarse today because I called 3 basketball games on AM 790 yesterday, WPRV, the divisional championships. We got a little bit of video from the excitement at PC yesterday. The quarterfinals are at Brown on Sunday. The round of 16 for the Credit Union Open Championships begins this Wednesday and Thursday. They'll get down to 8, and we'll broadcast all 8 games on AM 790 on Sunday and take them all the way to the Alex Nani Court for the final at the Ryan Center. Great basketball. Get out there this week and see the boys and the girls and the hockey and everything else. 'Tis the season for the Rhode Island Interscholastic League, and they do a really nice job getting it done. When we come back, leadership, leadership, leadership. We're disappointed in it, reportedly. Stay with us. Well, I'll tell you, on the rundown last week, we went over these new numbers that were published in the Providence Journal, and they were very discouraging. Here was the headline from last week: Public opinion of elected leaders loathe the poll finds. And my guest is Gary Sass, who helped to generate the numbers, along with Joe Fleming, who did a poll for him. Same guy who does the polling for Channel 12. Good to see you, my friend.
My pleasure.
Long time no see. Gary and I end up seeing each other at seminars all the time, and I'll get all excited, and he'll say, "All right, let's calm it down a little bit. Let's just chill a little bit here, and let's think this thing think it through," which is what you do, man. You have a brief resume for everybody. You can say it better than me. Former revenue guy, head of the administration for Kacheri. You worked in Providence City Hall. You've consulted Providence City Hall. Long career in policy, correct?
That's right.
And so now you're retired, semi-retired, consulting, and helping to build this think tank, which I think is it right to call it a think tank?
Well, it's more of a leadership institute than a think tank, and its mission is to help public officials get the tools and skills they need to govern effectively.
All right. Well, it's Ed Bryant, and it's doing good work. You've had hundreds of people come through, correct?
Oh yeah, in the last year and a half, probably 400 or 500 people. We've had seminars for newly elected town and school committee officials. We've had the governor's cabinet. We've had the justices and the presiding judges of the courts. Last week we had Central Falls and the entire city administration working with them on visioning. So our programs are customized. You know, we don't take programs off the shelf. We work with different government leaders, find out what they need, and we have really the jewel of the program are the 5 or 6 professors that are our core staff at the Institute, and then we conduct programs and work on helping people develop leadership tools and skills.
I said at the top of the show, you use the word over and over and over and over again, and it loses its meaning for people. It's because it's overused in politics, seems to me, but it is the key to success in policy effectiveness and change of quality of life and all that kind of stuff. So how do you get out of the conceptual mumbo jumbo and make it concrete?
Okay, but I'll give you 4 or 5 very specific examples which will describe what we're talking about, because effective leadership it shapes the future and gets things done. The first is the ability of the leader to confront brutal facts and to have people act on addressing those facts. The second is to mold public opinion, use the position as a bully pulpit. The third is what President Obama spoke about, is telling the people where they're at, where they need to be, and letting them know when they get there. The fourth is to focus. I use an analogy that Jim Collins used in his book From Good to Great about the hedgehog versus the fox. Hedgehog burrows down, gets one thing done at a time, is focused. Fox is all over the place. And so if somebody has 10 priorities, they don't have one. So it's concentration and focus. And the final thing is the ability of the person to connect the dots. You can't solve a problem without recognizing the financial consequences. You can't recognize financial consequences without dealing with organization. And most importantly, and this came from President Eisenhower, ethics. The moral underpinning of power is integrity and ethics. And that, you know, it's a long answer to your short question, but that's what leadership is.
All right, well, perfect. We'll stop it here. It's a shorter segment, but when we come back, I want to talk about some of the data that the Institute has developed in terms of the pulse of the public and how they view the leadership thing, and then figure out what in God dang Gary's going to do about it. We'll be right back. Stay with us. It's an honor and a pleasure to have Gary Sass here, the director of the Hassefeld Institute for Leadership at Bryant University. And you have a Jobs One program that was really the integral part of this polling data that we saw. You, PBS, the Journal, Fleming Associates, everyone came together to show us how upset we were.
Well, it goes much deeper than that. You know, Jobs One Leadership, which is a joint program of the Journal, PBS, and the Hassefeld Institute, is for the next 8 months going to focus like a laser on these candidates and talk about who will be and what constitutes effective leadership abilities. We're going to do several things. We're going to have interviews on leadership and have them widely distributed both in written and video media. We're going to publish a voter's guide to effective leaders and help score what effective leadership is and what effective leadership is not. They're going to be public forums. So our goal in life over the next 6 months is to get information out, to get leadership to be the central question of this gubernatorial campaign.
All right, well, I think, good, because we don't think it's so good. Rox, let's throw some numbers up from this polling information. The first number is just the overall way we think of state officials in general and their effectiveness. 82% fair or poor. Underneath that, part of that, 43% just said poor. And in terms of problem solving, those numbers couldn't be worse. Short thought on that, because we've got a bunch of slates, Gary.
That's a vote of no confidence. Basically, the people of Rhode Island
They can't
are
fix
saying
anything.
that the state government leadership is ineffective. And keep in mind, we didn't poll candidates, we didn't poll the legislature versus the governor. We just polled state elected leadership. And the people said that they don't think that they are effective at all.
The next one is the local officials poll, which is it makes perfect sense to me. There's a much better number for local officials. I think that has a lot to do with the idea that they're accessible. You deal with them on the school committee level. You tell the mayor you got potholes. Yes?
Yes, and those are pretty good numbers given the high unemployment rate, the economic malaise that the state faces. The local officials did well. I've said this for about 6 or 8 months, that if you look at the local level, we have a number of town administrators and mayors.
A good crop.
That are a very good crop. And they're really, at this point, the political leadership of the state. And that's reflected in that poll.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, they really, from McKee to North Smithfield and Lombardi to Almond to Smithfield, where they've got a good town administrator, to Policina, to Evadesian, to even to Fung, and they view Tavares as a pretty good mayor.
I worked in City Hall. He's accomplished a lot, but it's bipartisan. They're both Democrat and Republican mayors that are really working to solve problems.
Problems don't have ideology.
No, not state and local government.
No,
that's
not
for sure.
There's too much ideology in our local elections. Republicans and Democrats, fighting for school committee positions. People don't think that way locally.
The one ideology that is important is how you do economic development, how you create a favorable business climate. And my study of effective governors elsewhere indicates that governors and leaders that focus on growing the economy, not growing the government, generally are more successful. And there is a little bit of an ideological rub there, but it doesn't have to be.
Rox, can we go to the last one, the one on integrity? Can you pull that out of the box there, and we'll just take a look at the numbers. Look, Republicans are disenchanted, and they feel like the ugly duckling, period. But even Democrats are unhappy with what they think is the integrity of their leadership. Give me a short stroke on that, and then I got a question for you.
I just have 2 words: 38 studios. And that, really reflects how people view the integrity of the government. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the legislature acts on paying the obligation bonds. That's going to be a test.
The guy that you worked for, it was his project.
That's right, and it was clearly a mistake. But in a defensive way, I was gone when that happened, but it was a mistake, and there were a lot of mistakes. The decision was wrong. The way the next administration administered the program, left a lot to be desired. So there's plenty of blame to go around. But it's an example of why people have less confidence in government.
I think it's not just, since you mentioned 38, it's not just the mistake. I think Don Carcieri made a mistake. I don't think he was dirty. I mean, it was just a mistake. The board wasn't dirty. It was just a mistake. What was dirty was where the General Assembly authorized the financial support for it, voting blind when the concept of Curt Schilling's deal was already in the cooker.
Well, it was a combination. There's plenty, like I said, there's plenty of blame. It was a faulty policy because government does a lousy job picking winners and losers. It was poor oversight, once the decision was made. And then there's the lack of the legislature having a real independent investigation to find out who did what to who and when.
Amen. So in a minute's time, like we can solve it, What are you going to ask for from this political community? And please come back a lot as this goes
I'd love
on,
to.
because I want to continue in conversation. But are you going to demand answers and score them and tell everybody who they should vote for?
No, absolutely not. And there's no getcha. There's no politics. This is totally bipartisan. We're going to ask questions about leadership, and people can judge the answers to those questions.
What will be clear at the end of the project, though, to the electorate?
I think what will be clear to the end of the hopefully what will be clear at the end of the project is the electorate will get some idea of which candidates have the potential, the vision to be effective leaders, know what they're doing, know the environment they're working in, and will be willing to mold public opinion and get the job done. And that's an art more than science, but the whole conversation about leadership really is about accountability.
All right, so we'll be looking forward to all this work coming out of Bryant and the Hassenfeld Institute. And please, let's have a continuing dialogue about this.
Love to.
All right, Gary Sass. When we come back, your state of mind. Don't go anywhere. I mentioned that Gary Sass mentioned to me during the break before he left that they've got candidate interviews that are going to be on the Institute website. We'll let you know what that is because we'll be taking pieces of it, I'm sure, and all sorts of reports that they're going to have out over the course of the election year. Here's the information for State of Mind, 228-1886. Leave me a voicemail, stateofmind@myratv.com. Email me, post, tweet, the social media thing. Just don't leave the E out or it won't get to me. Here's a voicemail.
Instead of a half an hour, it's nowhere near enough. You should have an hour and a half. You're the Johnny Carson of Rhode Island. I'm watching now. I look forward all day just to hear your program because you got the binoculars.
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing: your state of mind is not just going to be the Uncle Richard segment, because it just feels so good. It's like rubbing my belly, like I'm a puppy. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7:30 on My RI TV.